Video begins, I want you to focus on your breathing and relaxing. This will open your mind to be able to take in the information that you will find in the stories. Please enjoy and observe the scenery, listen to the piano, and put yourself in a very calm state. Thank you very much, and the stories will start shortly. Wakan Tonka, Great Mystery. Teach me how to trust my heart, my mind, my intuition, my inner knowing, the senses of my body, the blessings of my spirit. Teach me how to trust these things so that I may enter my sacred space and love beyond my fear, and thus walk in balance with the passing of each glorious sun. This is the story of the Dream Fast. Continue to listen to the end, and please pay close attention to the moral of the story. Long ago, as it still is today, it was the custom for a boy who reached a certain age to go into the forest and wait for a dream. He would build a small lodge and go without food for many days and hope he would be visited by some animal or spirit in the forest that would take pity on him and give him guidance and power. There was once a young boy named Opachai. He reached that age. Opachai's father was very respected in the village, and he was determined that his son would be given a dream of such power that no one else would compare with him. So eager was the father for his son to get power that he insisted the boy go on his dream fast before the last snow left the ground, even though most boys would wait until the time when the ground was warm and the leaves returned to the trees. My son is strong, said the father. He will go now. He will gain greater strength from the cold. Opachai was a boy who always wished to please his parents, and so he did as his father said. They went into the forest, and the father selected a spot on top of a small hill. There, Opachai made a small lean-to of saplings and covered it with hemlock branches. He sat beneath it on the large bare ground with a thin piece of deer skin wrapped around his shoulders. I will return each day at dawn, the father said. You will tell me what you have seen. The night, the north wind, the icy breath of the great bear blew cold. Opachai's mother was concerned, but his father seemed not to worry. My son is strong, he said. The cold will make his visions a better one. When the morning came, he went to the lean-to and shook the poles. My son, he said, tell me what you have seen. Opachai crawled out and, looking up at his father, the boy said the deer came to the lodge and spoke to me. That is good, said the father. But you must continue to fast. Surely a greater vision will come to you. I will come to watch and wait, Opachai said. Opachai's father then left and went back to his lodge. That night a light snow fell. I'm worried about our son, said Opachai's mother. Do not worry, said the father. The snow will only make whatever dream he has become more powerful. When the morning came, the father went into the forest again, climbed the hill and shook the poles and called out to his son. Father, Opachai said as he emerged, shaking from the cold, last night a beaver came to me, and it taught me a beautiful song. This is good, the father said. You are doing well. You will gain even more power if you stay longer. "I will watch and wait," said the boy. So it went for 4 more days. Each morning, his father asked Opachai what he had seen. Each time the boy told of his experiences from the night before. Now hawk and wolf, bear and eagle had visited the boy. Each day Opachai looked thinner and began to get weaker, but he agreed to stay and wait for even greater vision just to please his father. At last, on the morning of the 7th day, Opachai's mother spoke to her husband. "Our son has been waiting long enough in the forest. I will go with you this morning and will bring him home." Opachai's mother and father went together into the forest. The gentle breath of the fawn, the warm south wind of spring, had blown during the night, and all the snow had melted away. As they climbed the hill, they heard a bird song coming from them. It was a song they had never heard before. It sounded almost like the name of their son. It said, "Opachai, Opachai." When they reached the lodge, Opachai's father shook the poles. "My son, it is time for you to end your fast. It is time for you to come home." But there was no answer. Opachai's mother and father bent down and looked in the small lean-to of hemlock and saplings. As they did so, a bird came flying out. It was gray and black with a red chest. "Opachai, Opachai," it sang. After the bird sang, it perched on a branch above them. Then it spoke. "My parents," said the bird, "you see me as I am now. The one who was your son is gone. You sent him out too early and asked him to wait for power for entirely too long. Now I will return each spring when the gentle breath of the fawn comes to our land. My song will let people know when it's time for a boy to go into his dream fast, so they do not make the same mistakes that you did. But I ask of you, mother and father, please let your words be a reminder to each parent not to make their sons stay out too long in the search of power." Then, singing that song, which was the name of their son, Opachai, the robin flew off into the forest and comes back in the spring as a reminder when a boy is supposed to go on his dream fast. As parents, we all have expectations of what our children should be, and we hope that they are greater than ourselves. But remember, with those expectations, make sure to provide proper conditions for growth. Be sure there's warmth and love there. Sending your children out into a cold world before their time can ultimately hurt them and turn them into something they weren't meant to be. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to listen, and I sincerely hope you enjoyed. O Great Spirit, help me always to speak the truth quietly, to listen with an open mind when others speak, and to remember the peace that may be found in silence. And this is the origin of Indian corn, an Ojibwe legend. In times past, a poor Indian was living with his wife and children in a beautiful part of the country. He was not only poor, but an expert in procuring food for his family, and his children were all too young to give him assistance. Although poor, he was a man of a kind and content disposition. He was always thankful to the Great Spirit for everything he received. The same disposition was inherited by his eldest son, who had now arrived at the proper age to undertake the ceremony, the vision fast, to see what kind of spirit would be his guide and guardian through life. Winds, for that was his name. He was a very obedient boy from his infancy, and was very thoughtful and mild disposition, so that he was beloved by the entire family. As soon as the first indications of spring appeared, they built him the customary little lodge at a retired spot some distance from their own, where he would not be disturbed during his seldom rite. In the meantime, he prepared himself and immediately went into it and commenced his fast. The first few days he amused himself in the mornings by walking in the woods and over the mountains, examining the early plants and flowers, and in this way preparing himself to enjoy his sleep, and at the same time stored his mind with pleasant ideas for his dreams. While he rambled through the woods, he felt a strong desire to know how the plants, herbs, and berries grew without any aid from man, and why it was that some species were good to eat and others possessed medicinal or poisonous juices. He recalled these thoughts to his mind after he became too languid to walk about and had confined himself strictly to the lodge. He wished he could dream of something that would prove a benefit to his father and family and to all the others. True, he thought, the Great Spirit made all things, and it is him that we owe our lives. But could he not make it easier for us to get our food than by hunting animals and taking fish? I must try to find this out in my vision. On the third day, he became weak and faint and kept to his bed. He fancied while thus lying that he saw a young man coming down from the sky and advancing towards him. He was richly dressed, having on great and many garments of green and yellow colors, but differing in their deeper and lighter shades. He had a plume of waving feathers on his head, and all his motions were very graceful. "I have been sent to you, my friend," said the celestial visitor, "by the Great Spirit who made all things in the sky and on earth. He has seen and knows your motives in fasting. He sees that it is from a kind and benevolent wish to do good for your people and to procure a benefit for them, and that you do not sink for strength in war or praise of the warriors. I am sent to instruct you and show you how you can do your kindred good." He then told the young man to arise and prepare to wrestle with him, as it was only by this means that he could hope to succeed in his wishes. Winds knew that he was weak from fasting, but he felt his courage rising in his heart and immediately got up, determined to die rather than to fail. He commenced the trial, and after protracting effort, was almost exhausted. But when the beautiful stranger said, "My friend, it is enough for once. I will come again to try you," and smiling on him, he ascended in the air in the same direction from which he came. The next day, the celestial visitor appeared at the same hour and renewed the trial. Winds felt that his strength was even less than the day before, but the courage of his mind seemed to increase in proportion as his body became weaker. Seeing this, the stranger again spoke to him in the same words he used before, adding, "Tomorrow will be your last trial. Please be strong, my friend, for this is the only way you can overcome me and obtain the boon you seek." On the third day he began appearing at the same time and renewed the struggle. The poor youth was very faint in body, but grew stronger in mind at every contest, and was determined to prevail or perish in the attempt. He exerted his utmost powers, and after the contest he had been continued the usual time, the stranger ceased his efforts and declared himself conquered. For the first time he entered the lodge, and sitting down beside the youth, he began to deliver his instructions to him, telling him in what manner he should proceed to take advantage of his victory. "You have won your desires of the Great Spirit," the stranger said. "You have wrestled manfully. Tomorrow will be the 7th day of your fasting. Your father will give you food to strengthen you, and as it is the last day's trial, you will prevail. I know this, and now tell you what you must do to benefit your family and your tribe. Tomorrow," he repeated, "I shall meet you and wrestle with you for the last time. As soon as you have prevailed against me, you will take my garments and throw them down, clean the earth of the roots and weeds and make them soft, and bury me in that spot. When you have done this, leave my body in the earth and do not disturb it, but come occasionally to visit the place to see whether I have come to life. And be careful never to let the grass or weeds grow on my grave. Once a month, cover me with fresh earth. If you follow my instructions, you will accomplish your object of doing good to your fellow creatures by teaching them the knowledge I now teach you." He then shook him by the wrist and disappeared. In the morning, the youth's father came with some slight refreshment, saying, "My son, you have fasted long enough. If the Great Spirit will favor you, he will do it now. It is 7 days since you have last tasted food, and you must not sacrifice your life. The master of life does not require that. My father, replied the youth, wait till the sun goes down. I have a particular reason for extending my fast to that hour. Very well, said his father. I shall wait till the hour arrives, and you feel inclined to eat. At the usual hour of the day, the sky visitor returned, and the trial of strength was renewed. Although the youth had not availed himself of his father's offer for food, he felt that new strength had been given to him, and that the exertion had renewed his strength and fortified his courage. He grasped his angelic antagonist with supernatural strength and threw him down. He took from him the garments and plume, and finding him dead, immediately buried him on the spot, taking all the precautions he had been told of, and being very confident at the same time that his friend would again come to life. He then returned to his father's lodge, and partook sparingly of the meal that had been prepared for him. But he never for a moment forgot the grave of his true friend. He carefully visited the grave through the spring, and weeded out the grass, and kept the ground in the soft and plaited state. He very soon saw the tops of green plumes coming through the ground, and the more careful he was to obey this instructions to keep the ground in order, the faster they grew. He was, however, careful to conceal the exploit from his father. Days and weeks had passed in this way. The summer was not drawing to a close, when one day, after a long absence of hunting, Winds invited his father to follow him to a quiet and lonesome spot of the former fast. The lodge had been removed, and the weeds kept from growing on the circle where it stood. But in this place stood a tall and graceful plant, the bright-colored silken hair surmounted with nodding plumes and stately leaves, and the golden clusters on each side. "It is my friend," shouted the loud. "It is the friend of all mankind. It is the mandolin." That is the name for corn. We need not longer rely on hunting alone, for as long as this gift is cherished and taken care of, the ground itself will give us a living. Then he pulled an ear. "See, my father," he said, "this is what I fasted for. The Great Spirit has listened to my voice and sent us something new, and henceforth to our people will not alone depend on the chase or upon the waters." He then told his father the instructions given to him by the stranger. He told him that the broad husk must be torn away, as he had done the garments in his wrestling, and having done this, directed him how the ear must be held before the fire until the outer skin became brown. The whole family then united in a feast on the newly grown ears of corn, expressing gratitude to the merciful Spirit who gave it, sent by the Creator. So corn came into the world, and has ever since been preserved by the Indian peoples. I want to thank you for taking the time to enjoy the stories. The reason why I presented these is to show that the ancestors had seen, and those who came before us, that there is power in fasting and prayer to the Great Spirit. The things you fasted for will eventually come to you, but you must show great strength in your fast. And as it was, shall it be again, a test for those who have faith in the Great Spirit. I wish you many blessings, and have a wonderful evening.